Good morning, folks, and welcome to this wonderful Friday. We now have a talk on something which I feel a little woeful that I have never done things like this, and I am a few years past 55. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dawn, who will start her talk on the amusing title of I started running at 55. Well, oh,
Oh, thank you. I'm really it's a privilege to be invited to do this talk. So yeah, my journey started in February 2017. I just taken early retirement from the NHS, um, and I used to run 100, 200 meters when I was a lot younger. And then, I grew up, um, got married, had a child, blah, 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 and never ran again, basically. And it's something that I've always wanted to be able to do. I hated cross country running when I was at school. I was rubbish at it, because it was just long and boring, and I just didn't find any enjoyment in it at all. Anyway, I was in the co-op of all places in Chew Magna, and there was a sign on the wall, and it said, "Would you be interested in being able to run 5K? We are a new group, and we're called the Chew Valley Snails, and we don't take ourselves seriously, and we like lots of cake." And I thought, right, this is the running club for me. Because a lot of running clubs are called, Harriers or Whippets or, sort of fast type titles, And I thought, well, Chew Valley Snails sounds just perfect for me, because I was very slug-like. As you see in that picture, I'm nearly 17 stones, believe it or not. The thing is, I was going to say 9'5". I'm 5'9.5". And when you're tall, you can get away with quite a lot. And I thought, 40 odd years being in the NHS and working shifts and, just not eating healthily because you never had time to, had taken its toll. And before I knew it, that's where I was. So I looked at this sign and I thought, it is a sign in more than one way. So I need to do something about this. So I got in touch with the run leader. Her name was Anne. And I said, look, I'm 55 and I'm, nearly 17 stones. Do you really think I'm going to be able to go from couch to running 5K? And she said, of course you will. It'll be fine. So I signed up, and I turned up for that first session. I thought, I can't see how this is going to work. Now, I could show you the rest of the people in that picture, but I'm scared of losing the other picture that I've got here.
If you click on it, you'll find that you can move them to sit side by side.
Oh,
you can actually.
Right. Well, I've just clicked on that. But I don't know where the other picture. Oh, the other picture's underneath. But as you can see, everyone else, they were a lot sort of slimmer than me. And I thought, I can't see how this is going to work. I had a pair of old yoga trousers, which were sort of straining a bit at the seams. I'd found this jacket that I hadn't worn in years, and I could only just about do it up, as you can see. And I looked like a sausage in a skin. And I just thought, this is, well, if you can get me to run for 5 minutes without sort of collapsing, then, I'm going to give it a go. Well, that first week we ran for 30 seconds. and then we walked for about 30 seconds, and then we ran for another 30 seconds. And we did that 6 times. And I remember every single one of those 6 times, I really did think I was going to die. And then at the end of the session, the lovely Anne took photos of us. And this is one of the photos that she took. And we were given homework to do. And what we had to do was, well, the first week we had to do for 8 lots of 45 seconds and then walk for, I think it was a minute, minute and a half, something like that. And I had, there was a lady that's not in this picture that did that with me. And then she got injured, and then she had to stop coming. So in week 2, we were then given 2 homeworks to do, and we had to run, I think it was 5 lots of 45 seconds, and then we had to run 5 lots of a minute and walk in between. And I had nobody to go out with, and I thought, this just isn't going to work. I need to go with somebody. Anyway, this lovely lady here, Mary, she lived in Temple Cloud. She said, well, I'll come out with you. I said, oh, you sure? You know, you looked as if you were effortlessly doing the session. And I was at the back. I was always at the back. And she said, no, don't be silly. You know, I'll come out with you. And anyway, a friend of hers doing this, and the 3 of us went out and did our homework runs, and they took me down to the railway track at Poulton because it's flat. And so throughout the first 5 weeks, we increased the amount we were running and decreased the amount we were walking. So we went from running for a minute, we ran for a minute and a half, then we ran for 2.5 minutes, with a walk in between. And until we got up to 5 minutes, and that was week 5, I think it was. We had to run for 5 minutes, and I thought I was going to die. But I didn't. I managed to carry on. And they were very patient with me. They would loop back. They would run ahead, and then they'd turn around and loop back for me as we're running along the railway track. And then I can remember I was talking to a friend of mine. I used to do bank shifts at Southmead Hospital, and one of the matrons there, she'd done the Couch to 5K the year before. And anyway, we were having this conversation, and I told her I was doing this Couch to 5K course. And I can remember her saying that the breakthrough for her was when she could run for the whole of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, because apparently that's nearly 8 minutes. And I didn't run with headphones on or anything. I didn't have the confidence to do that. But when we got to having to run for 8 minutes, I was with Mary and Sarah running along the railway track, and I was singing Bohemian Rhapsody in my head as we're running along. They're running in front of me and they're looping back. And for me, that was a milestone moment for me. And they said to me, well, now you can run for nearly 8 minutes. We're going to take you off the railway track, and we're going to do our homework sessions running around Temple Cloud and Clutton. And for those of you who have been to Clutton, it's surrounded by hills. And the weather was getting warmer. And I can remember, so week 7, we were in our little class doing our weekly session. And what we learned as we were doing our Couch to 5 was how to do what's called dynamic stretching before you run. And then we do the class. And then afterwards we did static stretches. And they're really, really important. And we were doing static stretches, and my trousers split. So then I had to go and find myself some, leggings, and I was still nearly 17 stone. And I can remember going to this shop, and I was just so embarrassed because, they directed me to the men's section, and, they said, men's, for some reason, men's running trousers go up to XXXL, and I'm sure you'll be fine with those. So anyway, I tried on these legging things, and they were XXXL, and they were fine. They had a nice deep pocket so I could put my keys in. And it's funny what people notice. I turned up for week 8, and everyone just looked, and they said, "You look amazing." And I was sort of, oh, really? And I also felt sorry for the rest of them, because, of course, they had to loop back for me as well, because I was lumbering along behind everyone else, running for, by now, 10 minutes, and then we increased it to 12 minutes. And Anne, who was our run leader, she always ran back and picked me up and made me carry on running, and didn't give up on me. And she'd say, "Come on, you're nearly there. You're nearly there. You've got 10 seconds to go." And I'm just gasping my last. And I said, "I'm dying." And she said, "No, you're not. You're telling me you're dying. You're perfectly all right." And she just wouldn't have any truck with any of that. And anyway, I huffed and puffed and, got to the end of the session. And I thought, I'm at week 8, so I'm nearly there. Week 9 was awful. We had to do what was called hill training. And basically there's this very, very steep hill, and you run up little bits of it, not using your arms. Then you use your arms. Then, you power walk up this hill, and basically the moral of the story is you get up the hill whichever way you can. And a lot of people walk. And I didn't think that they did. I just assumed that people ran up hills. But no, that wasn't the case at all. And anyway, so we all set off to run up this hill, and it was a hot day. And I probably got about just over halfway up the hill, and I just couldn't physically run any further. So I power walked the rest. And of course, the others were all at the top cheering me on and clapping. And I just thought, I gave it a go. So what if I didn't run the whole of the way up the hill? It didn't matter. And then week 10, we had to run for 40 minutes. So all the rest of them were running and looping back, and I'm huffing and puffing at the back. But I kept going. I was running very, very, very slowly, but I kept going. And got to the end of the couch to 5, and then I had to graduate. Well, we all graduated. And where did we graduate? Ashton Court. And those of you that have been to Ashton Court, there's a massive hill that takes you right up to the top where the skylarks are and where the golf course is. And I was warned that, it's fine. What goes up has to come down. But I found out from the others, because they all graduated slightly before me, because the weekend of the graduation, I was actually away that weekend. But they'd all done it in about sort of 37, 38 minutes. And I did it in 49 minutes. And I was just chuffed to bits with myself. And I power walked up the hill and ran most of the way back down slowly. But yeah, so I got to the end of the couch to 5. I'd graduated, and I was feeling pretty pleased with myself because I'd managed to do it over the 10-week period. And then I did what was called it was like a continuation of the couch to 5K, but it was sort of learning how to run properly. It was an improvers course. So that was 6 weeks. And so these two lovely ladies came out too. This is Karen and that's Mary. And there were a couple of others as well. And, you know, and we just learned how to hold ourselves, drop our shoulders, you know, run on, not quite on the balls of our feet, you know, what our arms needed to do, all that. And, you know, just how to hydrate and look after ourselves. And, you know, amazingly, you know, by the end of the summer, I'd lost about half a stone. And then I decided to, for myself, I decided to go to Slimming World and start, you know, looking at my diet, which I was able to do because I was no longer working shifts. And it all just fell into place. I was running regularly. I did something like 3 runs a week. And Anne was our only run leader. So we would meet in a group and decide where to go. And I was only doing about sort of 6K-ish, maybe 7. I deliberately had to be careful who I ran with, because the idea of going out with very, very fast people just, you know, I didn't want to smash my confidence and my self-esteem and think I'm holding everyone back. So I only ran with people that I knew I would be able to keep up with. And, you know, and there were some very fast people who were soon sort of running 10K. The Chew Valley 10K run was happening, and most of them went off and did that. And in the meantime, I'm sort of chugging along, doing sort of 7K, 8K. And then, so we get to sort of Christmas time, and was it? Oh, actually, no, it was before that. So it was about August time, and Anne, our run leader, said, I can't do this on my own. I need some more run leaders, and you'd be perfect. And I said, don't be ridiculous, you know. I'm one of your oldest snails and slowest snails. And she said, well, no, you're not actually. You're not the oldest snail. There's a lovely lady called Caroline, and she was 70 when she did the Couch to 5K, and she did it the month before you did. And I've got a picture of her, which I'll show you a bit later on. But, you know, I said, but, you know, I'm sort of lumbering along, and it took me 49 minutes to do that park run. And she said, do you know what? Don't worry about that. She said, that makes you perfect. Because the thing is, when people turn up, they want to learn how to run. And there'll be people that turn up that will be much bigger than you, and you're not going to be putting them off. The thing is, people, you know, especially if they have very low self-esteem, you know, they don't want to be put off by a string bean. They want somebody that they can actually connect with. They want somebody that understands what it's like starting off from where you started off, and you'd be absolutely perfect. So we get to Christmas, and, you know, I can't believe this, but I'm doing my leadership in running fitness course, and it's a day course, and it's through England Athletics. And I turned up, and I thought I shouldn't have any expectations whatsoever. People aren't going to look at me and think, oh, what are you doing here? Because that's not what they're there for. And you need to not have that attitude as well. So I turned up, and yes, there were people that were bigger than me. And I thought, there you go. You know, blew that myth out of the water. And so I did my leadership in running fitness. And then the following May, I did my first 10K, which was at Westonbirt Arboretum. And so I went from looking like that to looking like that. And by then I'd lost nearly 4.5 stone. And that was not just doing the running thing, but that was also, you know, eating sensibly and just looking after myself. And, you know, once I had, you know, taken a bit more control over, you know, what work I was doing and how I was living, I was sleeping better. And I just felt so much better. I mean, not only do you get vitamin D from being outside, but, you know, you get the release of endorphins. And, you know, and there were so many people that wanted to do my very first Couch to 5K course, which I did almost a year after I started running. So this was in February 2018. And back then, England Athletics didn't put numbers on how many you could take out. So I had about 16 people signing up for that. And one of them was the Slimming World consultant of the class that I went to. So she's now a run leader as well. And, you know, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. And, you know, I live in the Chew Valley. It's absolutely runs on our doorstep. And yes, we're surrounded by hills. So, you know, we need to just, you know, make the most of what we've got. And I am so, so grateful. Obviously, when we had COVID, we couldn't take people out. And I hate running on my own, even now. But we were all forced to run on our own during COVID. And we had that really lovely weather. So, you know, that's what got me through COVID, really, being able to go out on my own. And then, you know, fast forwarding to now, I mean, I can, if I get rid of this picture, I'm going to see if I can get up. There we go. So this is Anne, our run leader. And these are just some of the snails that I've got through the Couch to 5K. This was a big park run that we did at Ashton Court, because there was a couple that were going back to live in New Zealand. So, you know, it was a big sort of goodbye for them. But that's one of the photos. But I'm just going to see if I can. So this is Caroline. So Caroline started running when she was 70, and she's just absolutely brilliant. She's now, goodness, 76, and she, you know, she is still running. She's absolutely brilliant. I've got right. So this is a picture of us at Eastville Park. Now, some of you might have heard of Park Run. It happens on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in hundreds of locations. So this is Paul Sinton Hewitt, who was one of the founders of Park Run. And he just happened to be at Eastville Park because it was Eastville Park's inaugural Park Run. And this is Anne, who was our run leader that got me through Couch to 5K. She got us an invite to this inaugural, which, you know, we were very honoured. So, of course, we had to have a photograph with him. But Anne used to turn up to teach us Couch to 5K wearing these peacock leggings. And I can remember looking and thinking, how have you got the nerve to wear those? and obviously now, because Park Run has become so popular, and you see all sorts of bright coloured leggings and everything everywhere, and I still don't wear them. I still just wear black. And that's something I need to work on. I think I need to embrace these bright coloured leggings. Now, the other thing I do need to show you, and this is really important, right, so these are snail cakes. So when we do graduation, we've got all these rice paper snails that we put on top of these cupcakes. So when you graduate, you get one of these, because after all, that's what it's all about, being able to eat lots of cake and feeling really good about it. So yeah, so I think that's it with the that's it with the photographs. But now you know, we've got more run leaders. We offer all sorts of runs in and around the Chew Valley, and it's a way of life. You know, I cannot tell you what it's done for me. And the lovely thing about giving this talk is that it's helped me to remember what it was like at the very beginning. Because I mean, I've got lots and lots of photos of all the other snails and all the other things that we've done. But I don't very often look back at how things were at the very beginning. And anybody can do it. The thing is, it helps with bone density, and even just doing brisk walking. If you don't use it, you do lose it. So I'm going to be like my fellow snail Caroline, and hopefully I'll still be running around when I'm in my late 70s, early 80s. Happy days. So that's my talk on starting to run at 55 and where I am now.
Yeah, you could stop screen sharing and we could carry on chatting.
Right, so if I get rid of that,
there's a green button. I can stop it if you like.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
So yeah, there you
go. Yeah.
Oh, thank you ever so much, Dawn. I really enjoyed that. Very, very envious. I've got a couple of questions myself. I'll let other people have a go as well. But I particularly, I don't want to be a downer on this, but I've got bad knees. I'm 80. I used to be quite fit. I enjoy most sorts of keep fit, but one of my knees is gone, and that's scaffolded. To quote the surgeon, well, not the surgeon, the consultant, and the other one's not great. Is it hopeless as regards running, or do you know of other exercises which would achieve at least some of the same things?
So when you say both your knees have gone, do you need knee replacements or surgery?
I will need 2 knee replacements. I doubt whether I'll be able to get them on the NHS. I might get one. But yes, I've got it. I'm on crutches at the moment.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, my funnily enough, my mum's having a knee replacement next Friday, and she's been waiting for about just over 2 years. But yeah, I mean, as far as running, Karen, the lady that was in the group photo, she's a run leader. She's had 2 hip replacements, and she's running. I'm guessing you can, but as far as mobility and things like that, I think that, personally speaking, obviously until you actually have your surgery, you are going to be stymied as far as mobility. But I mean, there's things like non-weight bearing, like swimming and things like that. But I mean, would that be? I mean, are you able to do that?
With some difficulty. It's not easy to get to the swimming baths, but I would be able to swim provided I could get in the pool okay, which I probably could. So
Yeah.
Perhaps I'll try that one first. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mustn't take up all the space. I'm sure other people.
Oh no, no.
It's great that you're saying that, Patsy. I've been realized that I've become very overweight without getting enough exercise. I walk around the harbour quite regularly, but I've been a little bit blinkered whilst I've tried to get a project going over the last few years, and I've just put on more and more weight. And I've been doing a weekly exercise class that was kind of prescribed by my health clinic called Move Well, and I've just started doing some on an app called Yoga Go, I think, which is online yoga lessons. Yoga Go, to which one subscribes, and I've just signed up to go rowing once a week as well. But I feel, Dawn, that I need something now. I've got a funded project, which means that I don't have to. I'm not so scared of not being able to make my rent once a month, and I can put a day or so a week spread over time into exercise, and I'm a little bit wary of trying to do it on my own. And I think it's quite interesting that you did this. You basically went on a course and then put yourself on slimming as well. So I'm at exactly the point where I need to do that. But the chair yoga is interesting, Patsy, because you can do this yoga just sitting in a chair, and they're getting you to do this, and you're getting flexibility at least in the rest of the body, and it's getting you breathing and all that.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's physio as well.
I'm sorry, and
there's physiotherapy as well, because they can give you exercises to strengthen your legs and the muscles around your knee.
Yes. Yeah. I'm writing all these ideas down.
Harry, you were wanting to speak.
Dawn, did the fact that you're a trained nurse help you or hinder you? Because whereas we might be scared if we get really out of breath or have chest pain, you'd understand how it all works.
Yes and no. Obviously being a nurse is one thing, but our run leader sort of knew all the other things. I mean, I was out of breath because I was overweight, and I struggled to keep up because I was overweight. It wasn't because I had problems with my joints. It was just excess weight. And Anne was very she was very good in that she said, you're not dying, you're still talking, so I'm not worried about you. And the bits where we had to run up hills, she knew how far to push me, but that's because she's a trained run leader, and she's also done the stage beyond that, which is the coaching course. I've just done the leadership in running fitness, but she's actually done the coaching course as well. So even if you're a doctor, even if you're a physiotherapist, and I've had physiotherapists come on my runs, and I'm there teaching them how to do dynamic stretches and static stretches before and after a run, and they've never sort of said or contradicted. I've only taught them what I've been taught as a as a run leader. And Anne, I never felt, oh well, that's wrong. She only shared her expertise that she'd learned from the leadership in running fitness and the coaching course that she'd done. So I don't feel that being a nurse either helped or hindered, really. I mean, like I said, I knew I was overweight. I was probably borderline pre-diabetic as well. But the actual getting out there and doing it, because I knew I hadn't got any issues with my joints, that was more of a worry than, this sort of, well, I might get chest pain. I haven't had any chest pain, so I wasn't worried about that. Being breathless, well, that's just because I was overweight and for no other reason than that. So that wasn't a hindrance, really.
Okay, thank you.
There's the idea within that young trainee doctors do, and they call it do one, teach one. And I think that's a very good point to bring up, is that you feel confident and then you're able to do that with other people, because that is the very dynamic thing about encouraging people. Because in a lot of cases I've found, while teaching others and in other disciplines, is that I don't know if it's just British people, but a lot of people just don't have confidence in themselves. They don't think that they can do it, because especially I found it especially in the working class community and this type of thing, they have always been told, or at school and things like this, you're not very good at that. Stop doing that. Don't do this. No, that kind of thing, So
yeah.
What the dynamic thing that you're doing, which I think is admirable, is to say to people, yes, you can do this. Yes, there's a group of us here and we're all at different levels, and you can do this. You are valued. And I think that's what people need in a lot of cases.
Well, it is, because, well, as you saw in that group, I mean, most of them were, they weren't as big as me, but they might not necessarily have been fitter because they weren't as big as me. Most of them had run before, they'd had babies and they'd come back and they just wanted to sort of get a bit fitter. And what I found in the last 7 years that I've been teaching the Couch to 5K, all sorts of people turn up, and some of them have been doing Pilates and yoga, and most of them have dogs, so they walk their dogs. Some of them do that wild swimming business. Good luck with that.
Walk their dogs while they're swimming. Do the dogs swim as well?
Wild swimming. They go swimming in the sea and they go swimming in rivers and things.
Must be silly.
Yeah. So they do all that. But actual running, just, I can't do that. And, I'm not fit, but they're fitter than they think. Even when I started, I could walk. Walking was fine. I could walk for miles. I'd done 3 of those moonwalks when I lived in London. I wasn't as big as I was when I started doing the Couch to 5K, but I was about 14 stone. And the moonwalk for breast cancer, you walk a half marathon or a marathon, and I 26.2 miles, and didn't have any problems doing that whatsoever, because that was just walking. But running was something completely different. And it's funny what you notice when you start running yourself and you start looking at people running as you're driving somewhere, and you see people jogging along, having a conversation, and you're thinking, well, how do they do that? And they're running. And, you know, and that's one of the things that I've learned through doing this. One of our, you know, one of our mottos as the Chew Valley Snails is run at the speed of chat. Well, really? No, but we do. And it's learning how to run slowly. So that's the beauty of being in the Chew Valley Snails. We encourage conversation. And when I take people out on Couch to 5K, I want to hear them talking, because it takes their mind off what they're actually doing. And it's very clever, you know, all these things. And here's me, when I was doing it, I didn't want people talking to me because I was dying, didn't you know? But as I got through that and progressed onwards, you know, I love nothing better than going out for a run and, you know, having a chat with people. And, you know, the people that I've met since doing this, my path would never have crossed theirs. It's quite phenomenal. The breadth of people that I've met in this journey is just amazing. You know, and hearing their stories and, you know, what they did or what they do, because quite a lot of them are still working. You know, I would never have met them. And it's, you know, it's brilliant. And one of those people that I ran with, that I taught to do the Couch to 5K, she's got me into bell ringing. So I do bell ringing now as well.
You can give a talk on that later.
I can, yes.
Right.
Dawn, can you tell us about the fear of falling? Particularly as you get older, most people are really scared of tripping.
Yes, I can. I fell. So this would be about into my second year of running. You know, we were running sort of round some trail, and there was a great big thick loop of bramble, and my foot got trapped in it, and I went flying, and that really shook me up. So I would have been, what, 57-ish? Yeah, about 57 when that happened to me. And my first thought was, I'm going to break my wrists as I was falling. And then my next thought was, actually, what hurts more than anything is that my arms landed in a load of stinging nettles. And that hurt more than the grazes on my knees and on my elbows. But that just made me think, actually, you need to be careful, because, you know, you really don't want to, you know, be in a position where you fall and you break something. I mean, I always run with basic first aid kit. You know, I carry EpiPens because I had a bit of a incident where I was allergic to something, we still don't know what. But if you fall and break something, at least I've got a space blanket in my backpack, and I never run on my own. So we always, and there will be people that prefer to run on their own, but they're sort of much younger and much sort of, you know, not people of my age. So what I'm trying to say is, when I lead a run, I'm obviously looking to see who's in the group, and I do a risk assessment. And there are people who, you know, have either had surgery or, you know, they're a little bit underconfident about trail running, because trail running, you're running over fields and you've got great big sort of chunks of ground taken out by cows and goodness knows what, especially around the Chew Valley. You know, you've got paths with just sort of shale on them. You know, not everywhere is tarmacked, and tarmac obviously has a detrimental effect for people that have had hip and knee replacement. It's the pounding on the tarmac that's not good. So you might be running slower over a field, but it is much kinder on your joints. So you have to be aware of that as well. And I try and offer both types of terrain. But in answer to your question, yes, you know, there are bits where you run quite down some quite steep hills, but on the Couch to 5K, we teach people how to run safely so that, you know, you don't what we call heel strike. You don't put your heel down first, because if you're going down a steep hill and your heel hits a piece of moss or wetness, you know, your foot's just going to go and you're going to fall. So we teach people to run safely, very small steps. And, you know, and obviously we've got tree roots and things like that. So it's a case of keeping an eye out for those. But as a run leader, if we're leading through woody bits, we shout out tree roots or tree stump or, you know, badger set hole. You know, we have to be very, very aware of any dangers, even overhead branches, because, you know, you're that busy looking at the ground. You're not looking, you know, to make sure you don't trip over anything. You're not looking up. I'm making it sound very dangerous, aren't I? It isn't.
Could be, it could be.
But it could be, yes. So, yeah, just very, you know, obviously it's one of our responsibilities as run leaders is to, you know, make sure that, you know, you keep everyone as safe as you can. And we do carry a basic first aid, and obviously, you know, making sure we've got charged up phones and things like that, just in case anyone does come across.
Yeah.
The other thing is, of course, people, the older they are, the more likely they are to be on blood thinners and things like that. So if you fall and you bang yourself,
we know.
Yeah. So it's just knowing, you know, we do like if newcomers come and join our runs, we do say, do you have any medical conditions we need to be aware of? Are you on anticoagulants? Are you a diabetic? I mean, I carry glucose tablets and Haribos even, just in case somebody has a hypoglycemic attack. You know, I always carry water. So we do everything that we can to sort of mitigate as much as we can.
Are you personally insured?
Sorry?
Are you personally insured?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes. So if you come out on a lead run, you are covered. Yeah.
There seems to be, well, it seems to be to me, to be a lot more people doing the big runs, you know, like the London Marathon, and last Sunday we had the Bristol Half Marathon, and you couldn't bling move on the city centre because it was either all blocked off or there was just lots of people running, which seems to be one of the big things nowadays. Do you think I'm right in saying that there seems to be more people doing these, or is this just a fallacy, which I am accepting?
I would say yes, but there are lots of reasons for that. So the park run, the 5K run that happens on a Saturday morning, that's really taken off. And especially since COVID, more people have actually decided to do something about, you know, getting fit and stuff and joining in with those. Obviously, the charities have been through the mill with, especially since COVID, and obviously a lot of you know, care in the community and funding, and that has, in real terms is non-existent. So, a lot of charities are really struggling. Now, the downside of this, and I know this personally because I've never run a marathon, and I'm not really interested in running a marathon, but I have done a half marathon, and I've done the London Landmarks half marathon, and I did it for my friend's charity. Now, the charity asked us to raise at least £350 in sponsorship. You have to buy the place from the organisation that runs the London Landmarks, and it's ridiculous. Out of that money, they have to pay something like £145 for that place. So what they end up with is not really very much for all that effort. So for the London Marathon, it's very, very, very difficult to get a place because a lot of them have been already snapped up by the very big charities and companies. And you are asked to raise, I think it might be something like £2,000, which is a phenomenal amount of money, especially now with the cost of living crisis. And it's really, really, really difficult. And it got to the stage where, I've done the London Landmarks 3 times now, and they make it very easy for you. They set up a Just Giving page, the people that organise the London Marathon, and and it's all you do is just click on this. And the first time it was all right. The second time, I just felt really, I didn't like it. I don't know. I didn't like it. I felt like I didn't have control, and I felt I didn't like it for the people that wanted to sponsor me. I wanted them to feel like they were just sponsoring me, like with a good old fashioned sponsor sheet. And it was then I found it was the same people that gave the last time. And, working for the NHS, I don't, work in like a bank where they actually match what you raise. And I just felt really guilty. And yes, people will give what they can, but it's just really difficult. It's not a priority when you've got a massive electricity bill and all the rest of it. So that side of things makes it really difficult. So on the one hand, yes, it has become more popular. And what happens with these big marathons is the people that run them, they cross that finish line, never again, never again. And then a week later, they've signed up to do it again the following year. So you've always got the same people that manage to get on it. And then the people that have never done it never get on it, unless, of course, they can, either get lucky with the ballot or, they are part of the big business or one of the big running clubs. So, for instance, Western Supermare, I think they're called Western Whippets. They had one place for the London Marathon for the whole of their group, and they had to do a lucky dip. And one of the girls that won that lucky dip to get on the London Marathon is somebody that I have run with. And actually, I'm really glad she got it, because she really, really deserves it. She raises hundreds and hundreds of pounds for, for various charities. But yeah, it's not easy. And it does spoil it a bit in a way. It's good that everyone's running, but the downside is, I'm not interested in doing the Bristol half because it's just massive. And the route's not particularly nice. You're running down the Portway, and then you get down the end, you turn around and you run back, and it's sort of quite flat and boring. So not really appealing. But yeah, the London Landmarks, yes, it was very, very busy. And obviously they needed to shut a load of roads off for that. But the thing was, you had drumming bands, you had choirs, you had people dressed up in costume. There was just so much going on, and the support was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed doing that. But yeah, the things like the really big things like the London Marathon, the Great North Run, you know, you have the elite athletes, and you can still get involved. Sort of, you can work on a water station and stuff. That's really good. But yeah, getting tickets or getting a place, you know, as rare as hen's teeth. It's really difficult.
It reminds me of because I'm a little sedent in my ways, not like you, and also I would say, without doubt, you know, you're blinging good at doing that. You know, well done. You know. And but myself, in that sense, you know, I try to get tickets for the proms and things like that, and that's an enormous lottery as well. You know, trying to get hold of those, you know, is it's a little hard. So I understand that the complications which go around that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's I can hear from your enthusiasm. You really enjoyed doing running. It was part of it was part that made you. You know, this part that you didn't think you would do and you've done. You know, and
Yeah.
that gives you enthusiasm. It makes you feel better, and it also is good for your self-worth as well, because you know it makes you feel, as you said, a lot happier and a lot fitter, and it does things for the brain as well. But
Oh, it certainly does. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah, it certainly does. I mean, for me, it's the enjoyment of just, you know, just meeting up. And I offer runs. I mean, I'm doing 2 couch to 5Ks at the moment on a Monday night and a Tuesday morning, and I offer a run on a Friday morning normally, but obviously I'm not this morning. But I went out for a run with somebody else at 7 o'clock, and you know, there's always somebody that will go out with you, and that's, you know, that's the absolute joy of it. And you know, and then there's the Saturday morning run. We call it the dam run because you're running over the dam down by Chew Valley Lake, and that's always 5K. And then we all go for coffee and cake afterwards. That's why most people do it, I'm sure. But it's the social side of it as well, you know, and it's just really lovely to catch up with people. We've got a couple of people that live in Bedminster, and they've joined the Chew Valley Snails because they like coming and running out in the country. So
is it kind of a lot of females together and a lot of males together, or do you have both male and female within the group?
No, we do have both male and female. We've I don't want to say the word rebranding, but we've got 2 much younger run leaders that have joined us, and so they're all into social media and TikTok and all that, and most of us aren't. But they've come up with some really good suggestions to get the message out there for not just younger runners to join the Chew Valley Snails, but more men as well. And we've had quite a few husbands that have decided to join after their wives have done the couch to 5K. So I'm teaching the husband of someone whose wife I taught this time last year. And you know, and that will lead to more male participation. We've got 1 male run leader coming up, we've got another one that unfortunately he's waiting for knee surgery as well, so he's not able to run at the moment. But that was not through running, that was because he's an ex-paratrooper, so jumping out of helicopters and goodness knows what, that's the reason why he needs, you know, knee surgery. But yeah, we you know, we've got quite a few over the past, especially since COVID. We've got more men that are joining us now, which is really lovely.
Well, I've been dominating, I think, this discussion at the moment, asking questions and things. But does anybody else like to make a question or a comment on this? Gordon.
Well, yes, if I may. When I was in China, one of the first things that surprised me was however early I got up in the morning, I'd find in the neighboring park groups of 20, 30 men and women doing Tai Chi together. Now, that's an activity I would recommend to anybody. I was still doing it for years afterwards, and I do think that can help. The other thing I think it's important to say, and I'm speaking at the end of a long voyage, it's important to recognize that any exercise you do can be regarded as exercise. I mean, mine is counting the number of times I can get up and get down off a seat, or even put my Zimmer further away. It keeps me going, and I'm very disappointed when my balance doesn't allow me to do that. Although later in the day things become better. I mean, it's important that we can keep ourselves active. I mean, I was still doing some of the Tai Chi exercises every morning as I prepared breakfast. And I know that there were one or two teachers locally who even ran courses for older people, less able people, and went to local hospitals to do this with recovering patients. And it's certainly a wonderful activity. You do keep your body, you know, of course it doesn't extend your breathing abilities, but it's certainly worth taking. But keep aware of what you can do and regard that as something to cultivate.
Yeah, thank you, Gordon.
Well, friends, it is now 12 minutes past, and I think we've come to the what is called the natural break. And extreme thanks, Dawn, for coming and giving us this talk. You know, it was I think without capable, I can say it was inspiring.
Oh, thank you. That's my pleasure.
Right. Next week, we have one left before we go on our summer recess. And as this talk was engendered by Quakers, the last talk is apposite. It is, and I have to consult my notes on this, Barney Smith, early Quakers, why they were right to be wrong. Intriguing. Join next Friday to find out. Thank you, friends. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Bye.